In this lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of the other math functions that you can be able to work with that are enabled by importing the math module. And vicariously, you're going to learn how to import different modules to be able to do that and kind of what that means. Furthermore, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the number methods, describe what they are and what some of them are and how to kind of explore them. But we're not going to go too much into details about that because, quite frankly, we've already discussed some of them in our previous discussions. So let's get to it. Let's talk about the math functions and number methods that are available to us. So for this section of the lesson, what we're actually going to do is I'm going to drop into the Python interpreter itself instead of actually running a script. The reason is I kind of want to get some exposure into doing that. I am going to use the IPython interpreter, but every command that I show you will work just the same in a Python interpreter. So to do that, we've got my terminal open right here. I'm actually going to close this out right here so there's plenty of space and actually lift this up in there. And then I'm going to simply type in IPython. And now I have my IPython terminal. I'm going to clear the screen there. And now what I want to do is share with you a few things. So first off, let's look at some of the number methods that we have available to us. So I'm going to set a variable equal to 123. Doesn't really matter what it is. And then if you remember, if we do dir test, we can look at and inspect all of these different methods that are inside of this. Now this prints out a lot of just kind of stuff in there. There's a lot of these dunders. So the dunders we're not really that cared about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, for item in dir test, if item dot starts with. Now remember that starts with is a special method that string has. And so what we're saying is if that starts with a dunder, let's ignore it by saying if not. So if it doesn't start with this dunder, then let's print this out. And there we go. So here's all the ones that we have that are kind of more interesting that's in there. So here's an interesting one. What is the test.bit length? It's 7. What does that mean exactly? Well, if we go back and remember what an integer is simply a binary representation of a number, then that because we don't have any denominators or their whole numbers, that means that it can be literally represented as a binary number. And so we can actually convert that by saying bin of test, and we can see that this actually takes up 7 bits to be able to do that. So if we count this up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 123 is 111111. And so that's it. So there's a whole bunch of these other ones. So we've got a denominator, we've got from bytes, 2 bytes, the numerator, real. Those are really all things that we've kind of already somewhat explored. So, well, here, test is equal to, let's say, 1 divided by 3, right there. So we do test.numerator. Oh, wait, that's a float. Whoops, because that's an integer that's in there. Well, let's do the same thing for float. So for item in dir test, if not item dot starts with, print item. There we go. So as integer ratio, we can do that. So test dot as integer ratio. So this is what it would take to equate this to be 0.3333333. So if we do test, which is 0.3333, well, these are two integers we can do to divide that to get that that's in there. We can do test.hex. That's an interesting one. Whoops. So this is the hex representation of that floating point number that's in there. And finally, we can do test dot as integer. Hang on here. Is integer. So we can do test dot is integer, and I can tell us what that is. So if we did test is equal to 2.0 and then do test dot is integer, ooh, we can see that that's in there. So there's some interesting methods that are in there that you could use. So next up, let's talk about importing things. And this is really kind of the main thing that I want you to talk about or to show you is how to import the math package that's in there. So for example, let's show you how that works. So if I do import math, this is what's happening. Essentially what it's doing is it is going and it's grabbing a bunch of functions, classes, and variables, and those types of things from another package, and then imports it into your local space. So now, for example, if I did, to kind of show you, if I did math dot, let's see here, math dot pi, well, math isn't going to work. But if I do import math and then do math dot pi, now I've got access to the things that are inside of there that we have available to us. There's other things that we can do. We can actually do from math import pi. And now we've got pi available to us like that without having to do the math.pi. This from import, so this from module import sub thing is actually really useful if you're running into a situation like this, where the sub thing that you want to use is module dot sub module dot another sub module and so forth. Because if you did it this way, if we had to do that, so this is obviously going to not work. But if we did it this way, then I would have to do module dot sub module dot sub module dot sub module dot sub thing, like that, and that's how you would access that. But by doing that from import, then now all I have to do is just that sub thing like that. So for now, we have import math in there, and now we have access to this. Let's see what's inside of there. So for item in dir math, if not item dot starts with the dunders, print item. Let's see what exactly we have available to us. Wow, quite a bit that's in there. This is all stuff that's available to us. We've got the arc, cosine, sine, tangent. We've got degrees, where we can convert radians into degrees. We've got the factorials. We've got floor. We've got if something is not a number, or if it's an infinite number. We've got math.inf. So we just do math.inf, and boom, there it is. So that's actually where infinity number comes from. You got the square root that's in there. So let's look at that. So math.sqrt, whoops, not .sqrt of 9. That should be 3. And there we go. We've got that. So now we don't have to do 9 to the 1 divided by 3 or 0.5. We can do math.sqrt. Like this. There we go. So there's lots of things that you can do that. We've got math.pow, which is 2 and 3, which is 2 to the 3. There you go. There's 8. There's just lots and lots of things that are in here. I would really recommend that you kind of go through some of these and see what kind of you want to play around with. See if there's anything that maybe you want to do something with. If you're taking a math class, do your math homework with this. If your teacher allows it, and if your teacher doesn't allow it to turn it in, then do your work in there and then check it with this to do that. That's what I actually did in a lot of my college courses, is kind of messed around with that. So that is actually the end of our module here. It's kind of a short module, just talking about numbers and math. And we talked about today what exactly is an integer, what is a float, the complex numbers. We talked about how to kind of play around with the different operators with them. And then finally, we kind of rounded this out with the different math functions that you have available to us, as well as through the math module, as well as some of the number methods that you have available to you as well. So there you have it. I'm really glad you guys kind of took your time to check this out, and I'll see you guys at the next module.